Thank you guys for doing this. Savannah, this question for you, Kevin Baxter, LA Times. Obviously, when you saw the schedule, you probably looked at this game with, I don't know how you looked at it, but is there any split emotions, with your background? Who's your dad cheering for? Yeah. And was there any chance that you might have actually one day played for Portugal?
My dad is for sure cheering on for the U.S. I'm not even going to ask him because I know it's us. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's just an awesome opportunity. I think it's awesome that Portugal made it to the World Cup and for the first time, and it just shows how much better that country is getting with their women's side, and I just think it's awesome. I'm excited to play them, and I think it's going to be a great game.
Did you ever think of playing for them?
I mean, growing up, I always knew I'm a dual citizen, so I always had the option, but I think growing up in the U.S., it's kind of just always been a dream for me to play for the U.S. national team, so it could have been an option, but I think my heart always was with the U.S.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Savannah, Doug McIntyre, Fox Sports over here. Obviously, when the roster was named, you had never played for the U.S. Senior team. Can you take us through what it's been like for you to go from that to starting the first two games of the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a crazy roller coaster of emotions, but I think I've had a lot of great people, including the girls on the team, that have been super helpful with getting me acclimated to the team, and I'm just super grateful to be here, and I think, yeah, it's just been an awesome experience, and I'm just taking it day by game, or game by game, and just doing whatever it takes to help the team.
Jeff Carlisle here from ESPN. Question for both of you. Now that you've had some time to digest the Netherlands game a little bit, I mean, what are some of the takeaways from that game? What do you think you guys need to do better? And then looking ahead to Portugal, what are you expecting from them?
I think we had a lot of great moments during the Netherlands game, and I just think we want to build off those and make those more consistent and bring that to the Portugal game. Like Savannah said, they're a strong team, going to be a tough game. We know it's on the line, so we know we need to bring our best, that they're going to bring their best. I think we have shown a lot of pieces, and it's just a matter of stringing all those pieces together and being very in sync.
Lakin.
Hey, Andy, Lakin Littman with Fox Sports. More than what we see from Julie on the field, which leadership experience, what are just from your perspective, can you speak to just like her importance on the team and maybe some things that we don't see, why she is so good, especially coming back and playing center back?
One of my favorite things about Julie is how detail-oriented she is and the types of questions she asks constantly of the coaches and of each other and of the fine details and nailing things down. She's very adamant about us all being on the same page, and I think it's such a great example for me, for all the players on the team, and that's one of my favorite things about her, and she does it in a way that's different than other players on the team. So I think that has been huge for us, and I think that comes from her. She loves to analyze and be such a stalwart in defense. So no matter what position on the field she's in, she wants to know exactly what the objectives are for not just herself, but the entire team.
Henry and then Jeff.
Henry Bushnell from Yahoo Sports. Savannah, I'm just wondering, Vlaco told us after the game that Rose is obviously on a minutes restriction, and she played the second half. Did he tell you that, like going into the game, did you know that there was a good chance you were going to play one half and Rose was going to play the other half, or does he not really talk to you about that?
No, I mean, I don't think he talks to us about that. I think all I knew is that I was starting and I was going to do whatever it took to get 3 points for Netherlands. And then when he said Rose is going in, I know she's an amazing player, and I was just whatever it takes for the team to get the win. That's kind of what my mindset was at.
Jeff.
The Guardian. Question for, if you could both answer just from different perspectives on the field. There was some players talked after the game about the pressing triggers and trying to get those right in the first half. I'm just wondering maybe what you think needed improvement, and maybe from each of your perspectives, a little bit higher up the field, Savannah, and a little bit lower. And just how important is maybe the high press to setting a tempo and dictating that to an opponent?
It's interesting you asked from like a higher perspective versus a lower perspective on the field, and it's always like a chicken egg situation, right? Like if you don't step high enough, then it's hard for people behind you to read, and if people behind you aren't reading it, then it's hard for you to go. So I think we were all just kind of we weren't in sync, and that happens, and we were able to adjust it and respond. Hopefully we can do that earlier in the future. And I think that's also a really great strength of this team is we have lots of different ways that we can do that together. And so, of course, sometimes when you adjust, it's going to take a second to get on the same page. And we have full confidence in each other that no matter what we do, we will figure it out and we will execute.
Yeah, and I think we went like in halftime talking about all those things and like what we wanted to do, and that I think that's why in the second half we came out a lot more on the same page. So, like Andi said, it was kind of like we all needed to go together, we all needed to stay together, and I think it was just more about being in sync with one another.
Going to JT, then Nance, then Andy, and then Rach.
Thanks, Jonathan Tannenwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Andy, I think this one's for you. You know, for a number of years, people used to complain, "Oh my gosh, the U.S. team's playing so fast; they need to slow down." And here comes a game where there's an incentive to speed it up and put a lot of goals on the board because the Dutch are going to be chasing you guys for goal difference while playing Vietnam. How much conversation has there been about that so far, and how much do you expect there to be?
I think the conversation began after the game for us when we kind of debrief as a team that, you know, we're going to need to play fast and score a lot of goals. And we also just want that for ourselves, regardless of the game and the situation, because we know our first two performances have been solid, but we know we have more to give, especially in putting goals up. And so that conversation has kind of been bubbling just because we expect that high standard from ourselves. Sorry, what was the second part of your question? Did I hit it all?
I think he covered
Great.
it. Yeah. JT does like asking the three-parters, but I think he covered it. Nancy.
Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. Andy, how do you guys get in sync? Because that was something that was mentioned. You've obviously mentioned it. Savannah, you mentioned it. People mentioned it after Thursday, whatever day that was, the game. How do you get on the same page? And how much of that is because you all are still getting used to this team, this lineup, because of all the new players?
That's definitely a challenge that, you know, we're going through, is that we just kind of came together. It's not like a team that you're training with all year round constantly. You're in and out all the time. So I think you're constantly adjusting. But the way that you get in sync is just we watch a lot of stuff together. We communicate constantly. We're very direct when something's not going the way that we want it to go. So I think you have to be direct and clear and honest and loud. And like I talked about, people asking questions, figuring things out, like, hey, this is working, hey, this isn't working. So it's just honestly just constantly reviewing, communicating, and encouraging.
Sorry, I forgot about Steve Goff. He's going to ask about the Spirit to win today.
Did it finish?
I don't know.
Oh, my gosh. It was 4-2 when we left.
I think it ended 4-2.
Okay, great. Not too long.
Steve Goff from the Washington Post. Andy, what, you know, as you enter the last game of a group play, is there discussion? Do you look at standings? Do you consider the ramifications of winning, tying, or what's happening in other groups? Is that something that comes into mind with the players?
For me personally, not so much. I know the objective is to win the game and get out of the group and hopefully win the group. And it's just survive and move on. I'm enjoying watching other games, but I'm not analyzing anything. Honestly, I live 24 hours at a time. Just in general, I think that, Hype texted me and asked me to come do this. If it's within the 24 hours, I'm in. So, I'm not really looking anything beyond that.
Andy.
Hi, this is Andy Doss from the New York Times. You spoke, I think, last week about how during the countdown of the first game was when it kind of felt real to you and you felt these nerves. You call them good nerves. Now, given your vast World Cup experience, 2 games, is there a moment when you set that aside? You need to kind of get kicked a couple times, get into it, mix it up a little bit, or?
She definitely got kicked a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the same amount of time, like during the national anthem and during that countdown was kind of when it starts to hit you again and those good nerves start to come in. But I felt super confident with myself and the team that we were going to put our best foot forward, and I think that's what we did. And now we're just looking forward to the next game.
Rach.
Hi, Rachel Bachman from the Wall Street Journal. Hi, Andy. Rose Lavelle really showed her her importance in terms of facilitating sort of between the back and front lines. What kind of skills do you see from her in terms of helping distribute the ball to scorers, including herself?
That's such a good question. I could talk about Rose for a very long time, so I'm trying to think of all the ways that I need to be succinct. I think Rose brings a creativity to the team, a fluidity, and for me, having played with her for a long time, I always feel like I know where she's going to be. But I think the thing that we don't talk about with Rose is like the defensive shift she put in, like how she kind of set the tone for the game with getting a yellow. Obviously, it was her first foul. As you know, we don't need to get into that, but just setting a message. And I think it's been awesome having both her and Savannah play in that position because they both bring such awesome qualities on the ball, on the dribble, interchanging positions. And so, yeah, I mean, I think they both have been doing an awesome job playing in the 10 and creating a lot for us and giving us different looks.